Hello, friends. Welcome to this episode. My name is Dave Kading, and I'm excited to share with you that we're at 100 episodes of the Myopia podcast.
Welcome to the Myopia podcast, where we give you the latest myopia research, clinical topics, and industry insights. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all awesome myopia content. And now to our host, a massive myopia manager himself, Dr. David Kading.
That's right. You heard it correctly. We're at 100 episodes of the Myopia podcast, and I had no idea we would get here. I don't know that I thought we were going to stop doing the Myopia podcast, but I never envisioned that we would get to 100 episodes. What that really means is that I've put out 100 conversations around myopia and the topics around myopia management. And surprisingly, even more is that you have listened to 100 episodes of the Myopia podcast. We've got an incredible group of listeners who are loyal to us and continue to check us out and trust us with some of their time. And I'm really, really honored. Wanted to briefly take you through and make this a little bit of a shorter episode, um, to just give you a little bit of a recap of 100 episodes and to let you know, more importantly, that the first 100 episodes are going to be coming out as a book that my team and I have compiled around what we've learned and what we think you should have learned from the 100 episodes. And this book is for free. You can check it out on the myopiawebsite.com. That's the myopiawebsite.com, just exactly spelled out like that. And you'll see a link to get the book there. It's free. And we've worked really hard on it, as you can imagine, taking the transcripts and then working through the content that we think is valuable, giving a recap of the episodes and so forth. Um, but some of the information that we have garnered as I've read through all of the episodes, and if you want to know something that's pretty difficult to do of reading a podcast, it's reading a podcast that you yourself did. Although all of our guests are incredibly incredible, it's quite something to have to read over your own words. And I was really, really honored. But one thing, I'll share a couple of things with you that really stood out as we went through. Number one is that throughout the guests that we have, and we didn't ask them to specifically do this, one thing held true is the underwhelming acceptance of myopia management and how all of these different people are so shocked that we haven't had this condition blow up in the sphere of major media of eye care. And all of these guests are very passionate around the topic of myopia management, from the retinal surgeon who sees patients with retinal detachments and glaucoma macular degeneration as a result of myopia, uh, to the doctor who is doing a handful of myopia management in their practice, to the people who are crushing it with marketing, to the people who are doing research on myopia management. It's just the aspect of seeing that we have very few people in treatment. Justin Kwan in his episode goes through the number of people that we should be having in myopia management and the shocking number of practitioners who, have hardly 5 or 6 total in myopia management, and yet we should be doing 20, 30, 40 each across 10,000 practitioners, or 40,000 practitioners if you include ophthalmologists and optometrists, to even be meeting the need of the millions of children just in the United States, let alone worldwide, to reach this demand. Um, I, am overwhelmed by the acceptance within this group, but I'm underwhelmed by the acceptance of myopia management and how we have so far to go. We are really at this breaking point at the beginning, and if it doesn't go soon, who knows if we're going to be making the dent in those children who are right now at 10 years of age and they're about to really explode with their myopia, or that kid who is 6 years of age who has just become emmetropic, or just became myopic, and yet we can make a difference in their life. Those are the kids that we're doing the Myopia podcast particularly for, is to be able to make a difference in their life by motivating practitioners. The podcast is not for patients, although maybe it should be, is maybe we would have a wider acceptance of it if they understood the demand and the need for myopia management for their children. So, number one, overwhelming understanding of how we are underwhelmed in the acceptance of myopia management. The second thing is the understanding of it being a pathological disease that is causing tissue damage. And throughout the podcast and throughout my understanding over the last couple of years, we've redefined the myopia term from being a refractive error to being a disease state. The fact of the matter is, in order for a disease to happen, there is abnormal changes to tissue. And so the definition, in brief, that we go along with is myopia is a disease that causes stretching and elongation of the eyeball, resulting in blurry vision, changing prescriptions, and an increase in disease risks. But the aspect of it around causing disease is one that all of these guests almost universally have commented about, and how we have to make a real big dent on that. The third thing that I would say is a major trend within the group is the need for axial length. 5 years ago, I made a very strong stance that axial length was not needed in the management of myopia management because we did not have good instrumentation to measure axial length other than, for the most part, a singular device that was in ophthalmology and cataract surgery and was designed for adult cataract patients. But over the last 5 to 6 years, we have had multiple devices, particularly designed and launched into the Eyecare market space, specifically designed for children or to be children comfortable. And many of them have growth charts and growth software built right into them. So now I am at a point saying you don't need axial length to do myopia management, but if you do have axial length, it will revolutionize and change your myopia management practice. Um, and several of the guests and myself talked about this throughout, in that in my practice, we do axial length on every patient, and it has changed my perception in that I might have a -6 patient whose axial length is 22 or 23. That's really short. And I might have a patient who is a -3 or 4 who's got an axial length of 26, 27, or 28. And that is really long. And so no longer are we basing disease risks just on the prescription that patients have, but we are basing it on the axial length. And one of my heroes in the myopia space is Jeff Wallin, and Jeff is very adamant that we do not need axial length in order to do myopia management. And while I agree with him, um, Jeff is, I think, and I'm putting words in his mouth that may not be true, saying that because we don't want to leave anybody out that wants to do myopia management. The greatest predictor of somebody becoming more myopic is that with the age of when they start, and we can do that without a device. And absolutely, if we have a child who is approaching emmetropia before the age of 6 or 7, we are in really bad shape for them to develop a high refractive error. And as we look more importantly at axial length as children are progressing, we know what an emmetropic number should be for those children. And if we see what the growth rate is of being higher, we may actually be able to detect it earlier with axial length than we may be able to with refractive error. And there's a great study in the refractive error aspect of that to point that out. So practitioner across practitioner, who's doing myopia management will tell you that one of the best things that they did was bring in axial length. I don't have a single person who is on the podcast who does axial length who says not needed, wish I didn't have it. And so that needs to be a stimulus to you if you're considering or looking to go big on myopia management, is bringing in that device will single-handedly change the perception and the view that you have. And I think with the guests that I have had, we've really seen that universal message across all of these different people. So that is the third thing that I saw universally. And then just in closing, a fourth thing that I saw over and over again was that you don't need to be extravagant to get started, and that there are a lot of easy things and easy buttons that you can push to get into myopia management. We developed the Myopia Workshop, which was first launched in December of 24, as an effort to say, let's tear down the barriers that are keeping people from really crushing it with myopia management. How do we take you in your practice and get you to 60 patients if maybe you've never done myopia management? Or how do we take the 100 that you're doing and double it next year? How do we double your revenue or your myopia management patients? And that was the objective of the Myopia Workshop, and will be, should the Myopia Workshop continue in 25 and 26, which the plan is that it will. And with that workshop, we worked to make things simple. If you are not doing myopia management, the number one thing you need to start doing is fitting lenses, prescribing atropine, and doing orthokeratology. That is a barrier that will keep you from crushing it with doing tens and hundreds of patients in myopia management. But likewise, if you are not doing myopia, you're doing those things and you're not doing myopia management at a very, very high level, I would encourage you to consider the myopia workshop, or consider you one of the webinars, or consider you one of the memberships, the myopia management membership, which hopefully will be launched in 25 or 26, helping people to really develop that. Vision by Design has workshops around this. And like I said, the myopia workshop. So those are concepts that really boil down to, how do you convert the patient? We talk about this all throughout the Myopia podcast, is how do you get a patient to convert and say yes? I hear a lot of people who hear a no, and then that's the final answer. And it's kind of like that cute boy or that cute girl that you have a crush on. You don't take the one turn down and never approach it again. You continue to stay in touch with those patients. You continue to connect with them. You invite them in for free axial length evaluations, and you're just trying to have those simple little connections with people to make that difference. And just like in the dating world, is you just want to keep making those connections with people and touching base with them. The myopia management world, in order to make that make it a complete entity for them, you need to make those connections. So the thing that I heard over and over again from our guests is, it doesn't have to be hard. You can get started easy and then grow it from there. So if you're interested in starting myopia management and you're just listening to this podcast because you're interested in that, it's not a difficult thing to do. If you're already doing myopia management, but you're just not seeing your numbers go, I think that really speaks to a lack of a solid belief that this is a condition that causes problems down the road. And it means that your system or your process is not refined to continue to work to convert those people to say yes. So here's to 100 episodes. Here's to an amazing group of people that continue to come onto the podcast, and all of you for listening. The touch points of, we're nowhere near where we need to be. Myopia is a disease. Axial length is changing the game, and the conversions and getting into myopia management are not difficult. Will hopefully continue to be a central theme of what we talk about as we're emphasizing the different treatments that are out there. Some exciting innovations in myopia management, which we'll continue to talk about in episodes 100 through whatever it is. We already have a handful of podcasts already recorded, so I'm excited to share those ones with you. And, I would really encourage you to check out the book, the myopia website.com, and you can sign up for the book there, and we'll send it over to you free of charge. Would you do me a huge favor and would you find somebody else that is doing myopia management? Would you share the myopia podcast with them and see if it's a resource that could be helpful in getting them to go from 10 to 30 to 70 to 120 patients over the next year? It would be a huge blessing to me and my way of giving back, and hopefully that's your way of giving back to the podcast and the community. Thanks for what you do, and thanks to you for being part of the Myopia podcast. Here's to the next 100.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you for tuning in to the Myopia podcast. If you enjoy our content, please leave a 5-star review and don't forget to subscribe for more great episodes.